Hey folks, what's going on? All right, so this is a cool one. I thought of this topic a very long time ago and completely forgot about it until I was very nicely reminded by a person who wrote in. Lady Umbreon89 asks, Klasky Csupo, you mentioned once that a lot of people your age or slightly younger really bag on cartoons produced with or by Klasky Csupo. Can you talk about the things that made them good? This is, surprisingly enough, something that I've put a lot of thought into over the years because in college, I went back and I rewatched a lot of shows produced by Klasky Csupo. And for those of you who don't know who Klasky Csupo is, if you might be too young to remember, they were an animation production company that worked usually with Nickelodeon on a whole bunch of the original Nicktoons from like I want to say like the late 80s to the early 90s. The early 90s to like the 2000s even. What am I talking about? Yeah, and they produced a whole ton of shows, everything from Rugrats to Real Monsters to the Wild Thornberrys, Rocket Power, As Told by Ginger, a few other things kind of in between, and some stuff for other channels and things. But yeah, and they produced pretty much every single show that they produced for Nickelodeon in particular was a massive hit, and they were extremely successful and did very well. All of those shows were immensely popular. But in recent times, I guess, they've become kind of notorious to, I don't want to say just to artists, because I hear a lot of people always talk about this, how they're often very heavily criticized for their character design. And not even just their character design, but their general, just style, their visual style that they often kind of go with. They're very like out there and even kind of like gross looking, a lot of their stuff. But that said, all their stuff has been extremely successful. So, what does that say about it? Well, I can say personally that growing up, I loved pretty much all their shows. I'll even admit Rocket Power was a little bit of a guilty pleasure at the time, but that was certainly one of their weaker shows that people like to make fun of for ironic purposes. But yeah, that said, Rugrats, Real Monsters, and even as a matter of fact, As Told by Ginger, I think was and Wild Thornberrys I loved as well. As Told by Ginger, I think was genuinely like one of the smartest cartoons on Nickelodeon. Period. I'll probably go more into that one a little bit later, but so the person who sent this question was particularly mentioning about Rugrats and how she was watching the Rugrats in Paris movie, and I guess just to surmise, I went back and I rewatched all of the Rugrats like first couple seasons or so in college, and I was like, why not, and see if it holds up, or probably just for the lulz or whatever. But I watched it and it still holds up. I think the reason that it does, and the reason why it was Nickelodeon's like flagship show for a really long time, basically until SpongeBob came around, is because I think that it had something that anybody could relate to. And it's interesting too, because the trend tends to be like, if you're marketing a show towards, this is what I find to be the case, if you're marketing a show towards a certain demographic, you usually tend to make the characters an age group above the target audience. So like if you're, targeting to, like 10 to 12 or whatever, kids 8 to 11 or whatever, the main characters usually are teenagers. If you're targeting to actual teenagers, the characters are adults, and so on and so forth. And I find that often that is the case, but Rugrats kind of breaks the mold in the fact that it was characters that were younger than virtually any target demographic of a TV show, of an animated show. And but I think that having everything be told through their eyes and having these experiences that again, like anybody can relate to, because everybody is lost and doesn't know how the world works, for any number of years, regardless of whether they're a toddler or not. And I think that the kind of like pure imagination of that kind of show was something that gave it such staying power for a really long time. Seriously, it felt like well over I think it was over a decade. No, I think it was. That's right, because they did the All Grown Up special, I think, for the 10th anniversary or whatever. Yeah. So Rugrats, I think, is the biggest example in terms of its success and how, like, it didn't matter how well. Actually, I'll get to that point because that was made by somebody else. So, short little story. When I was in I want to say my second year of college, I took a class at the School of Visual Arts by this lovely woman by the name of Lisa Goldman. Really fantastic teacher, and I believe she's part of the Women in Animation group. I think she might even be like one of the founders of it or something. Go look her up because she does lots of workshops and stuff. She's really cool. She was teaching a class about how to develop and create an animated series. And, as that was something that I had been interested in pretty much forever, I thought, hey, I've studied this a lot on my own, but I'd love to, take a whole class entirely about this. So I took it, and one of the guests that we had was a man by the name of Fred Seibert. For those of you who don't know who that is, Fred is basically the person responsible for Fairly Odd Parents, Adventure Time, and for a little while, pretty much every good show on Cartoon Network that came from the What a Cartoon series, the kind of skit comedy kind of thing where it was like lots of random cartoons. All the shows that got picked up from that and made into series, Fred Seibert and his company Frederator are basically the reason why those shows exist, because he was the person that said, hey, this person knows what they're doing, give them a show, and the companies would listen to him because he pretty much always knows a hit when he sees it. Great guy, and ironic as I'm part of the Frederator YouTube channel, or the YouTube network, I should say. But not speaking for any views. I'm just, this happened far before that. So anyway, moving on. Yeah. So Fred was a guest at the class, and I forget exactly how it came up, but Rugrats came up, and I made a passing joke about how the character designs were kind of gross in that show. And he said, that's fair enough, but, when you have a show, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, basically, when you have a show that is as successful as Rugrats, people can tell me all day, like, how gross or ugly the character designs look. The kids love that show, and the fact that it went on for, X amount of seasons is proof of it. And I was like, he's absolutely right. Yeah, it doesn't matter what they look like. The show was entertaining, and people loved it for years and years and years, and it's still a show that holds up. Granted, it's the epitome of a kids show. I can certainly agree with that. I wouldn't say it's one that's I would say to maybe not in the same way that, like, if you looked at a show like Avatar or the Batman animated series or something where it's like kids and adults can enjoy it for the same reasons because just they're good. Rugrats was a show that could be enjoyed by all because, if you're an adult and you're listening to the adult characters, all the parents of the babies and everything, and hearing the hilarious dialogue and shit that they talk about, it can still be entertaining, but not quite in the same way. Unless you're, somebody who's kind of just willing to, sort of zen out, like, okay, this is a kid show, and then you can just objectively kind of look at it as still being what it is, and what it is good. So, but so Fred's point stuck with me for a long time, and sometime after that, I want to say maybe in my last year of college or something, I had it in my mind that I wanted to rewatch As Told by Ginger, because I remember really enjoying the show as a kid, believe it or not. As a young teenage male, I actually enjoyed watching that show. And I remember there were a couple later seasons that I never got the chance to watch. So I thought, hey, you know what? Why not? I should give this a shot. So I tracked down the episodes, and I marathoned pretty much the entire show and the Camp Capri special and all that stuff. And man, if any of those shows hold up the best, I would say As Told by Ginger does even more than Rugrats. It certainly wasn't as it was successful, but it wasn't like Rugrats level of successful. But what a smart show! Like, truly, what an intelligently, realistically written show. With a great designed universe of characters, kind of in a similar way to Hey Arnold, where there was just like literally a whole world of different characters. Granted, it was a little bit more focused than Hey Arnold in that it would it would usually just focus on Ginger and kind of her perception of the world. But yeah, I mean, but just a huge, colorful cast of characters that were all really entertaining and really like extremely relatable, extremely just they felt real. And they were all interesting and intriguing. Even the asshole characters. And it was a similar case where I'd tell people like, "Oh, dude, I'm watching As Told by Ginger," and it's like good, to other animation students, and they'd be like, "Oh, that show is so gross," and like, "Oh, have you seen that picture of like, what if they moved Ginger's like mouth up a few inches and then she looks like a normal person?" I'm like, "Yes, okay, I get it, but that doesn't matter." It doesn't, because it's like it doesn't deter from the fact that the show is really, really good. And it's not like just, oh, it's so like stereotypical, like lol, oh my god, boys or whatever. No, it's like if you really watch it and you really get into it, it's amazingly written. And also it was a rare show. I believe this is kind of a rare case where it was created by a writer. And then that was where Klasky Csupo came in terms of designing the visual side of it. Because that doesn't happen super often. Usually the creator is an artist themselves, and they've designed the whole look of the show. And the creator's writing was so good. Emily Kapnick, that and her characters were just so amazing that Nickelodeon was smart, and they were like, hey, like we could make a whole show out of this, and it was great. And it went on for I think like 5 seasons or so. So yeah, that's one that I'll always defend. Probably even more so than the other ones, because I mean, I don't know, people shows like Rugrats and Wild Thornberrys in particular, I think have continued to live on in the hearts of people on the internet between, making chocolate pudding on, the YouTube poop circuit and, and then Nigel Thornberry. I mean, who the fuck doesn't love Nigel Thornberry? I sure do. But yeah, so I think that's about it. But everybody in the comments, did you grow up with any shows produced by Klasky Csupo? Do you have any fond memories of them? And what do you think about this? Do you think that the visuals, did they deter you from enjoying their shows? Did that not matter to you? Was it? Do you agree with my point about how just they were all entertaining, great, memorable shows, and there wasn't, the kind of gross look that they were so known for? Do you think that was like that didn't really matter to you? I don't know. Yeah, let me know in the comments. And because honestly, to me, my last closing thought is just, people in real life aren't all beautiful and perfectly symmetrical looking anyway. So hey, why not? Let's draw people as ugly as they are in real life. Whatever. So that's my outlook on it, I guess. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, and if you've got ideas for future Kirblog topics. As you can see, I'm taking them and making videos out of them. So I'd love to hear more suggestions. Let me know in the comments also, and you can feel free to hit me up on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook, all that usual stuff. And I will see you next time. Thanks for listening. Bye.